So my story is actually I was born in Hiroshima, so it's quite touching to see what is happening in Portland. Yeah, and then so as a child born in Hiroshima, of course we study about this atomic bomb and what's the effect. And the three things I never forget about this atomic bomb, what happened that day. So three things, simply heat, wind, and radiation. So my teacher said like this. So heat, of course in Japanese. But the heat, I couldn't imagine in Japanese we say 12000 度. So I don't know how to say in English, but basically 1,000 times hotter than boiled water. That happens to the human body in 1 second. Of course burned and then melt your skin. Yeah, so people died in that way. And then next, wind. So 音速360度, which is it's like a faster than just sound. It's like a sonic boom, and they made every single object in the house made into that weapon. So especially window glass. So many people struck by window glass and they died. Yeah, and of course after that radiation. If you survive that way, but still suffer from the radiation. And after I learned that, and I always kept thinking about why is that? Why need to happen? It's not human way to end the war, but I couldn't understand why is that. Yeah. But it's a war. Yeah, next war, more war, as it is. Yeah. So I composed, and me and myself and then Michelle composed this piece called Zero. Zero means zero, right? In Japanese, zero, nothing. But after Hiroshima is a beautiful city anyway.
I started to write something for today. I even reviewed the years of creative expression and choreo poems that I performed for you for this Memorial Day. But this time, I was frozen. I made a few attempts, I reviewed all the statistics, I researched new connections, but they just did not ring true to me. Not alone. 1945, August 6th, August 9th, 70 years, a lifetime ago, Hundreds and thousands of people died. They are the survivors. They are the Hibakusha. They tell their stories, those civilians who died in wars, because they lived. They will not be forgotten, living or dead. They want to be heard. 2016. They were murdered, countless of innocent ones. Their deaths were once again televised. Social media moments, racism in America, Black Lives Matter, denial of our American history. They suffer from omission. We suffer from their omission. Freedoms denied, living or dead. They want to be heard. So we're saying they are not alone. They are not alone. In large numbers, we are depressed. We're unhappy. And we're turning to addictions and violence. We're not healthy. We live in poverty, struggle for survival, and are displaced. We fear for our children's safety and for our future. Fear is leading the way. We are subjected to mass incarcerations and weep for those who die too young. We are harming each other in systems that do not work. War is not the answer. Smart, strategic, tactical, drone, cruise missile, conventional, nuclear, bombs. More bombs do not make us safer. More guns do not make us less violent. We are not alone. Pass. We are not alone. Pass. We are not alone. We are not alone. And stop. But keep holding hands. We can do this. I had to move. I lost my home. Gentrified. A loved one died. Another one died. I am trying to do my best. I am disillusioned to the Fukushimas and the fracking, to the horrific Hanfords, Chernobyls, and Tridents, and to the stockpiles of nuclear waste and environmental destruction. I feel responsible for this earth, for our home, for our sacred land. I want breathable air, drinkable water, land that I can grow food, trees to give me shade, and birds to sing me songs. I make choices. I eat well. I take care of my body. I need energy. Life cannot be bought. What do we truly value? I am not alone. I am not alone. I am not, I can't hear you, alone. I am not alone. I am not, keep passing. I am not alone. Keep passing. I am not alone. Sorry, first row. I am not alone. I am not alone. You, waking up, thankful, smelling the cool breeze and the sweet flowers, reveling in chirping birds and red dragonflies, fresh fruit and prayers. You can just keep passing your hand now. You who believe in equality and peace, caring for the sick and the lonely, freely giving your time and creative energy to make this world better. You listen and engage. You are full of hopes and smiles. Friends love you. Family holds you. You make a difference. You are not alone. You are not alone. Keep passing, keep saying you are not alone. Keep the handshake going so that I can see all your hands up in the air. Till all your hands are gathered, grab each other's hands and repeat after me. The director back there. They are not alone. We are not alone. I am not alone. Look at the person next to you and say, you are not alone. Thank you.
We're here today, 71 years and 3 days after the first use of nuclear weapons in a war, bombing of Hiroshima, which killed an estimated 140,000 people. And on this day, exactly 71 years ago, the plutonium secretly created at Hanford, 230 miles up the Columbia River from where we stand, was unleashed in the form of the second bomb, Fat Man, over the city of Nagasaki, killing as many as 80,000 more people. As citizens and residents of the only country to use nuclear weapons against another country in war, I believe we have a unique responsibility to take action to ensure that these weapons are never used again. So today I'll be talking about the current state of the nuclear threat and what we can do together to take up the cause of the Hibakusha, the survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, to say never again to nuclear weapons and to work together to create a nuclear-free future. As the Cold War ended, the nuclear threat receded from public consciousness. I know as a teenager, watching the Berlin Wall fall and having friends visit the Soviet Union under Gorbachev, nuclear weapons seemed to be a relic of the past. Unfortunately, the threat of these nuclear weapons, their use on purpose or accidental, remains as dire today as it ever was. And the US, along with Russia, holds the lion's share of nuclear weapons that exist. A report that Physicians for Social Responsibility issued a couple years ago looked at even a limited nuclear war in which less than 1% of the nuclear arsenal is used, and found that it would create worldwide famine with up to 2 billion people at risk of starvation. So the risks of nuclear weapons are not gone, they're still with us. Despite President Obama's speech in Prague in 2009, in which he laid out a vision of a world without nuclear weapons, unfortunately, little progress has been made under his administration. He announced that he'll be bringing a resolution to the UN Security Council to ban nuclear weapons testing. This would essentially circumvent the US Senate and put in place the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, a treaty that was signed by President Bill Clinton, but since then the Senate has refused to ratify it, making it so it has never become US law. The administration is also reportedly considering some common sense measures to reduce the threat of nuclear weapons by adopting a policy of no first use, and also by adopting a no launch on warning policy, which would end the option of unleashing nuclear weapons within minutes of detecting an apparent nuclear strike in progress, but before the weapons reach their target. The fact that these policies are not already in place underscores the insanity of our nuclear weapons policy. Unfortunately, at the same time these measures are being considered, the Obama administration is also pushing forward a modernization plan, a new nuclear arms race, which would spend upwards of $1 trillion over the next 30 years to modernize and upgrade our nuclear weapons system. This is not money that would just maintain the safety of what we actually already exists, but would instead go towards creating new weapons, more powerful weapons, some of them smaller and therefore considered to be more usable nuclear weapons. So Oregon PSR and our partners have been working with our congressional delegation, and I am happy to say that many of them here in Oregon have taken the lead to oppose this disastrous waste of funds on nuclear weapons modernization. Both Senators Merkley and Wyden have taken leadership, including signing a letter last month from 10 U.S. senators to the President calling on him to halt the modernization spending, to adopt the policy of no first use, and to cancel launch on warning. Senator Merkley put it this way in a letter in support of this event today. He said, "Americans face a real choice: spend billions on nuclear weapons we no longer need, or fund programs that educate our children and help find cures to deadly diseases. The security of our nation's future will be better served by investing in education, not a nuclear arsenal." Congressman Blumenauer, who spoke at this event a couple years ago, has taken the lead on the House side and has introduced the SANE Act for the past few years, which would reduce nuclear weapons spending and redirect it towards human needs. Congressman DeFazio and also, with our urging, Congresswoman Bonamici have both signed on to support this legislation. And this spring, Blumenauer was successful in passing an amendment to the Defense Authorization Bill that would increase transparency in nuclear weapons spending. On the international front, there has been more progress as of late. Over 120 nations, a majority of all countries in the world, have taken the humanitarian pledge, which would fill the legal gap for the prohibition and elimination of nuclear weapons. Chemical weapons and biological weapons have already been prohibited under international law, yet, as Lynn explained, nuclear weapons still remain legal. So today we're collecting signatures to deliver to Obama to ask the United States sign on to the humanitarian pledge and support negotiations for a treaty to ban and eliminate nuclear weapons. We often think of nuclear weapons as something of the past or something that might harm us in the future, but in fact they're harmful throughout their entire cycle. Uranium mining, often on Native American reservations, has contaminated the air, the land, the water, causing wide health effects for the surrounding communities. According to a McClatchy report in 2015, the push to win the Cold War has left a legacy of death on American soil, with more than 33,000 former nuclear workers dead from illnesses related to radiation exposure in the United States. We feel this impact intensely here in our region with the Hanford Nuclear Reservation just up the river, where the plutonium for the bombing of Nagasaki was secretly created, and which is now the Western Hemisphere's largest toxic cleanup site, with radioactive and toxic tank waste leaching ever closer to the Columbia River. In the middle of the Hanford Reservation sits a commercial nuclear power plant, the flip side of nuclear weapons production. It's named the Columbia Generating Station, and it's of similar design to the ones in Fukushima and with similar safety concerns. Oregon PSR is also working hard to shut down this nuclear power plant. And in the Marshall Islands, where the U.S. tested nuclear weapons for many years and the people and the land have suffered the impacts, the Marshall Islands have actually brought an international lawsuit in The Hague against the U.S. and the 8 other nuclear weapon states for failing to eliminate their nuclear arsenals. Meanwhile, depleted uranium, used by the U.S. for tank armor and to coat bullets, to spread its radioactive and toxic legacy across Iraq and Afghanistan to this day. So nuclear weapons are harming people and the environment here and around the world, even without another bomb going off. Another way we can look at this issue is to follow the money and to divest our own money from nuclear weapons manufacturers. There's a report called Don't Bank on the Bomb, and you can find out in that report if your bank invests in nuclear weapons, and you can send them a message about divestment. The short answer is if you bank at a major U.S. bank, they do invest in nuclear weapons. But actions from this report have resulted in some European banks actually divesting their money from nuclear weapons. And this year, the city of Cambridge, Massachusetts, actually divested $1 billion from nuclear weapons. So this is an action we can take as individuals and as institutions, and maybe it's something we want to approach the city of Portland about someday. So speaking of the city of Portland, our mayor here, as well as the mayors of Beaverton, Eugene, and Ashland, are part of the International Mayors for Peace, which was started by the mayors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and as such, they have helped to pass a very strong anti-nuclear resolution through the U.S. Conference of Mayors this year. So we want to thank Mayor Hales and the other mayors for taking this action, because mayors know that cities are the ones that suffer in nuclear war, and cities are also the places that suffer from the lack of funding for human needs when we're wasting all this money on nuclear weapons. And I'm excited to announce, I think this is the first official announcement, that Carol Erner has been working with the mayor's office and has actually issued a proclamation today calling today Hiroshima and Nagasaki Day for Nuclear Weapons Abolition in Portland, and encourages all residents to observe this day. So thank you to Carol for making this happen. So I personally first really became aware of the dangers of nuclear weapons after September 11th, when I helped start a group of 9/11 family members that were working for peace and justice. And one of the first groups that reached out to us were Hibakusha from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They sent a delegation from Japan to New York to meet with us and to share their stories of transforming their pain and their grief into work for peace and justice. And it made an enormous impression on me that these people, who had suffered the most unimaginable way from the bombs dropped by the U.S., were able to empathize with American 9/11 families and encourage us to take up their struggle for peace and justice. They wrote to us saying, "We believe we share with you the firm conviction that we must help the whole human race make a transition from a civilization of power to a civilization of love." And so today, I ask you to join with me and join with the Hibakusha, 71 years since the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, nearly 15 years since September 11th, and 2 years to the day since the killing of Michael Brown, in making this transition from a power-crazed world to a world based on the power of love, by recommitting ourselves to abolish nuclear weapons and to work for a world of peace and justice for everyone. Thank you.
I also wanted to give a very, very special shout out to Tohil and Pedrito Souza. So they are the young men right over here that have come to our event the last couple of years to share their origami skills. So if you're interested in learning some origami, they're over here at the table. And finally, thank you all for coming. Please hold close in your hearts the memory of the tens and thousands of those people who lost their lives in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Please honor their memory by becoming an instrument of peace and work to pursue a nuclear-free future. The threat of nuclear war is as real as ever as it has been, and the only way to keep it from happening is for the world governments to take meaningful, concrete steps towards abolition.
We just wanted to say a couple of words of how meaningful it is for us to be a part of today. We also want to bring hope through our drums. And the second piece that we're going to be playing with our full ensemble, Korekara, from now on, is about the hope of coming together as community and bringing the joy of our togetherness into strength together.